You ever watch a game that feels less like football and more like a slow motion reveal of everything that's been brewing all season? That was Thursday night in Detroit, a game that started like any Thanksgiving tradition and ended with the Lions walking off like they'd just been handed permission to believe again. Detroit 44, Dallas 30, and Jahmyr Gibbs put the stamp on it with 3 rushing touchdowns. Reuters. From the first whistle, you could see the script. The Lions wanted to set a tone. Physical, opportunistic, intent on making Dallas pay for any sloppy moment. And they did. Jared Goff managed the offense the way veteran quarterbacks do. Short, efficient, then punctuated by sudden strikes, while Gibbs and David Montgomery created constant problems for the Cowboys' tackling angles. Gibbs wasn't just a participant. He was the closer, finishing drives and delivering the kind of late-game dagger you feel in your bones. Reuters, the Cowboys answered in fits and starts, big kicks, a handful of explosive plays, a late rally that briefly felt like the old Dallas script. But this wasn't one of those nights where the script flips. Brandon Aubrey kept Dallas alive with a historic kicking night, drilling 5 field goals, including a 63-yarder, and in the process, he kept piling up milestones that will live in the stat books for a long time. But field goals can't replace sustained drives and defensive stops. And on this night, the Lions made the plays that mattered most when the clock was shrinking. Let's be honest, the turning point came after the halftime break. Dak Prescott came out and tried to will his team back in it, but a tipped pass that turned into an interception flipped the momentum hard. Instead of coming out energized, Dallas let a single turnover unravel a half's worth of effort, and Detroit turned that swing into points the way good teams do. When you look back at the tape, those moments where the ball changes direction aren't random. They're the cruel arithmetic of high-level football. Blogging the boys. And there were bigger structural problems that the scoreboard didn't hide. Dallas outgained Detroit in the box score by a slim margin, but the Lions turned chunks into touchdowns. 6 plays of 25-plus yards by Detroit speaks to explosiveness and efficiency. Meanwhile, the Cowboys' defense couldn't sustain the routine plays they needed. Missed assignments, late reaction to motion, and penalties at the wrong time built a field for Detroit that felt too easy to play on. When you're chasing in the fourth quarter, that kind of defensive slippage is lethal. ASUSA, the human element matters too. CeeDee Lamb exited with a concussion, and that swung the momentum in ways numbers don't fully explain. Losing a key weapon like that makes coverages easier to scheme and closes off the routes Dak trusts in third down windows. And Ryan Flournoy's career night, 9 catches for 115 yards, shows a team trying to find new angles when its top options are limited. But those flashes of brilliance can't paper over the bigger issue. Dallas had too many self-inflicted wounds at the worst possible times. ASUSA. What this game does to the Cowboys' season is brutal and frankly clarifying. Their playoff chances, already tight, just got a lot tighter. Now Dallas lives in the math of miracle scenarios. They need near perfection and favorable breaks to get back into real contention. That's a heavy lift for any team, especially one that can't consistently stop the run or convert red zone possessions into touchdowns. There's still time, but the margin for error has evaporated. Blogging the boys for the Lions, the win is a reminder of what they can be when everything clicks. Balanced, fast to the ball, and ready to strike when the opponent gives them a seam. Jared Goff's steady hand, Jameson Williams' deep threat plays, Amon-Ra St. Brown's workmanlike clutch catches, those are the tools that make Detroit dangerous. But more than any single player, it was the collective readiness to capitalize on turnovers and special teams momentum that decided this one. In a season where identity matters, tonight felt like a team remembering who they can be. Wrote, if you're trying to fix Dallas, the checklist is painful but simple. Protect the ball, shore up run fits, and stop gifting chunk plays. No coach wants to shout about fundamentals after a loss, but that's the exact medicine here. Defensive adjustments, accountability on missed tackles, and better discipline in the red zone, these are the levers that flip close games. On offense, the Cowboys can still craft comebacks, but they can't rely on Aubrey's leg to bail them out every week. Field goals help. They don't win championships by themselves. ESPN.com, and let's not underplay Jahmyr Gibbs for a second. This kid finished like a veteran. 3 short yardage touchdowns, one after another, the kind of finishing instincts that extend beyond pure speed. He's not just fast, he's decisive in traffic and clinical at the goal line. When a back can do that consistently, you don't just have a playmaker, you have a game finisher. It's the difference between a good running game and a championship caliber grind. Reuters, there's an emotional edge to nights like this, too. Thanksgiving games are supposed to be warm, communal, almost ritual. When a team like Detroit turns that into a statement, a midseason declaration, it resonates. Fans go to bed feeling like something changed. And for the Cowboys, this is a wake-up call you can't afford to ignore. It's not panic time, but it's the time for honesty. Which mistakes are flukes and which are systemic? If you want a visual to carry with you from this game, pick 2 images. One, Brandon Aubrey standing tall under the stadium lights, drilling a 63-yarder that made the broadcast gasp. 2, Jahmyr Gibbs crossing the goal line late while the Cowboys sideline looks down, the kind of small human moment that tells a larger story. One is spectacular, one decides games. Both will be replayed, but only one will change trajectories. ESPN.com. Where do we go from here? For Detroit, keep the hunger, clean up coverage in obvious spots, and avoid the trap of resting on a big win. The NFC is messy, and you can't afford to plateau. For Dallas, it's time to turn loss into lesson. Fix the little things immediately, then win the next game and the next one. That's how seasons are saved, not in a single heroic speech, but in consistent pressure to improve. Final line. Tonight was proof that football is a collection of tiny moments that accumulate into destiny. The Lions took the right ones, the Cowboys didn't. That difference, the willingness to seize the small chance when it appears, is what separates teams that merely hang around from the ones that go deep. Tonight, Detroit seized it. The Cowboys came to Detroit needing a win and left with a brutal reminder: this season has no safety net. The Lions pulled away 44-30, and Jahmyr Gibbs was the story. 3 rushing touchdowns, a late dagger at 2:19 left, and his 47th career TD before turning 24, tying Barry Sanders' record. That's not a footnote. That's a headline. Dallas fought like a team scrapping for life. Dak Prescott threw for 376 yards and a touchdown, and Brandon Aubrey kicked historic long-range field goals, 5 in the game, including a 63-yarder, making him the first kicker ever with 3 field goals of 55-plus yards in one game. But highlights don't win playoff tickets. Execution does. The Cowboys settled for field goals early while Detroit was punching in touchdowns and costly errors piled up. Tipped passes turned into picks, turnovers turned into points, and busted coverage turned into chunk plays. Detroit finished with 6 plays of 25-plus yards. That explosive stuff killed Dallas. Jared Goff was steady, 25 of 34 for 309 yards, and the Lions got playmakers involved. Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown combined for nearly 200 receiving yards. Isaac T. Slaw hauled in a key touchdown, and David Montgomery busted a 35-yard run that set tremors through the Cowboys' defense. Gibbs didn't just run. He caught 7 balls for 77 yards and hit the end zone 3 times. This was a full-team performance. Dallas clawed back in the 4th. A busted coverage touchdown and a 2-point conversion cut the lead to 30-27, and for a moment, hope flickered. But Detroit answered like a team that believed in its roster: a quick drive, a kickoff return that flipped field position, and then Gibbs finishing the job. In less than 3 minutes, the narrative swung back to Detroit. Defensively, the Lions made the plays when it mattered: sacks, turnovers, a forced fumble, and Detroit's pass rush found Prescott enough to disrupt rhythm. The Cowboys' improved look since adding Quinnen Williams showed flashes, but consistency evaporated at the worst possible time. CeeDee Lamb leaving with a concussion hurt the offense's top-end explosiveness, and George Pickens didn't find the big night Dallas needed. The playoff math turned ugly for Dallas. That loss makes their path a razor's edge. They now need near perfection down the stretch